Coming from place to place, place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning and welcome to Youth Wednesday on the Tobago Updates Morning Show. You're viewing us here live in Port Moresby, Scarborough, Tobago. My name is Dwayne Nurse and I am your favorite youth host, and we are smack in the middle of the week just to bring you this youthful vibe. And yes, it is the Carnival season, and we had to bring the vibe. And for those of you who are coming to Tobago, all ready to enjoy the plethora of activities that we have for you rolled out, I just hope that you're safe and enjoying the island. Good morning to all of you viewing us on our varying platforms, and good morning to you, Miss Nancy.
Good morning to you, Dwayne. Good morning to all our viewers on our varying platforms. As Dwayne said, Facebook, YouTube, and 102 on Amplia.
Yes.
We are smack dead, as you said, in the middle of the week, and we are here to bring you that youthful vibe and vigor. We always have to stress on that, right? So if you are running out on energy, here we are bringing that energy for you. Dwayne, how are you this morning?
I'm certainly not as fine as you. However, I'm alive and I'm here, It's the Carnival season,
yes.
Although I'm not a party goer, not a Carnival person, I'm certainly not a party pooper,
yes.
But it is thrilling to know that, we have a pull factor for persons coming to the island just to enjoy the experience of what Tobago has to offer, in its place in the national, in the national events and so on. Tobago is the vibe right now. Tobago is the highlight.
Of course.
I mean, look at our. It's this way. Okay, it's this way. Look at the top left-hand corner of the screen. We are celebrating Christmas. Wow, celebrating Carnival. But we want to go back to news in 90 seconds with Miss Natalia Nances.
Thank you, Dwayne. Here is your news in 90 seconds, Wednesday, 16th October 2024. Newly appointed Senator Ansel Dennis is urging the THA to support the Tobago Autonomy Bills, the Tobago Self-Government Bill, and the Tobago Island Administration Bill, now under review by a joint select committee. Dennis stressed the bill's importance in securing 6.8% of the national budget and granting Tobago the power to make its own laws through a new legislature, reducing national parliament's control. He urged political unity among the THA, TPP, and PDP to push the bills forward, acknowledging minor adjustments may be made during the debate. The Tobago Festivals Commission plans to collaborate with the National Carnival Commission, NCC, for its October Carnival 2025. Chairman Kern Cowan announced that band leader payments will be disbursed next week, just before the year's carnival on October 25th to 27th, assuring that the delay will not affect the festivities. Cowan explained that the $9 million budget is allocated primarily to production, marketing, and support for events and mass bands. Looking ahead to 2025, the Commission has already initiated discussions with the NCC CEO, Davlin Thomas, to enhance planning and execution. The DPP has identified a new office at the First Citizens Building on St. Vincent Street, Port of Spain, following a dispute with AG Reginald Armour over the rejection of the Park Street building due to security concerns. Despite the $55 million in rent payments since 2019, DPP Gaspard confirmed the new site is more secure but requires refurbishment before the move. The AG's office has placed a bid for the building, though its status is unclear. The 2025 draft estimates allocated $3.13 million for outfitting the new office. Prime Minister Keith Rowley criticized the DPP for refusing the Park Street site, but former AG Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj defended the decision, citing an independent investigation that cleared Gaspard of blame. And that was your news in 90 seconds.
Thank you, Miss Nancy, for news in 90 seconds. We're going to go straight over to our birthdays this morning. And October seems to be the month of all months. Plethora of birthdays this morning. And first on our list, we have Miss Janaya Hislop. A happy birthday goes out to you, celebrating her 16th golden birthday this morning. And we want to share our love and our thanks as you are a youth and I pray that God continue to bless you and all your endeavors. Who do we have next?
We have Miss Mahalia Tobias. Happy birthday to Miss Mahalia. And I say Miss Mahalia because she is a teacher this morning. And I hope that as she goes to school, her children sing her happy birthday. So I'm sending that special shout out and that special request to Mahalia's class that they sing happy birthday to her and that she enjoys it to the fullest.
All right. And for those of you who did not make it on our birthday list this morning, and you know, October is flooded with birthdays, I wanted to give a special birthday going on to my friend Uncle Leakey's and Mackenzie and all the other persons who would have celebrated their birthdays that might have not made it on our list this morning. I hope you guys enjoy your day and happy birthday goes out to you. Miss Nancy, what else do we have for them this morning?
Well, we have our rundown for them this morning, just to give them a snippet of what is to come.
Yes.
You know, of course, we always have our exciting talks here at Tobago, where Tobago updates on Youth Wednesdays, my bad. Of course, we still have a few budget talks happening in the space, so we're going to get into that. We're going to look at more things like, Dwayne mentioned that this is the Carnival season, so we'll get more into things like that, right? So specifically on the rundown, we have myself and Dwayne will be carrying you through more budget talks with Mr. Luke James Trim, the CARICOM Youth Ambassador for the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. It will be a youth in focus, shaping national policy through parliamentary dialogue. Then we'll have Ms. Nisha Agostini. She is a filmmaker speaking to us about Carnival's film screening. And last but not least, Ms. Joshelle Dan will be taking us through an interview on the upcoming NUGFW elections. Right, so we have a lot for you, and we really do hope that you stay tuned and share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
Kyrie People presents Runaway. Runaway, Wednesday, October 16th at the iconic Pigeon Point Beach from 12 noon to 7 p.m. with the All-Stars Band featuring College Boy Jesse
Who want to drink rum with me? Everybody come there.
and Ding Dong.
I wanna ramage and drink something and break away.
Guest artist Farmer Nappy
Can you have a hold on me while you want me to?
and Waddings. Your DJs Mighty Crush and Selected 3D. Your MC Snoopy. This is a $600 premium all-inclusive event. Get your tickets now at Sands Fashion, D Coliseum Mall, Jade Monkey, Lust Restaurant and Lounge, All City Mall, Gonzalez One Stop Shop Scarborough, and Dinkers Beauty Supply Sport Mall. The after party is at Jade Monkey Bar and Grill. For more info, call 483-2264, 742-1674, or 731-5916. Runaway, Wednesday, October 16th at the iconic Pigeon Point Beach, Tobago.
Blue food came from dasheen. Locally, we look at dasheen, which when you boil it, you get a blue coloration.
Are you ready for Tobago Blue Food Festival 2024? Join us on October 20th for an unforgettable celebration of Tobago's unique cuisine. Enjoy live cooking demonstrations, local music, and cultural performances throughout the day. This festival has something for every palate. It's all happening October 20th in Bloody Bay. Visit TobagoFestivalsCommission.com for more info and make sure you're part of this one-of-a-kind culinary event.
Attention soldiers, are you ready for the ultimate mission for Tobago Carnival? It's time to gear up for Army Fed Operation Rocks Glow.
I feel like I run in tongue again. No place like home. Put 'em in the center, go. Put 'em in the center, go.
We're taking the vibes out to the countryside, where a premier cast of live entertainment will be pumping all night long. Army Fat Operation Rocks Glow. Join us on Thursday, 24th October at the Sid Gray Sporting Complex, Roxborough, for the high-energy Wear White Soca Bashment Rocks Glow. Army Fed Tobago. Operation Rocks Glow.
tell them I can't do even bother calling me. Tell them I can't. I said tell them I can't do even bother calling me. Tell them.
Don't tell me about work I out on the road today. Don't tell me about work I out on the road today. Don't tell me about work I out on the road today.
So guys, there are some new developments in housing in Tobago. So it's goat racing time. This is 116, the show that keeps you in the know with all things Tobago House of Assembly. Each week, 116 delivers a fun and engaging overview of the latest developments, achievements, activities, and events of our dynamic assembly. So join me. Let's dive into the Tobago House of Assembly's Week in Review right here on 116.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning and welcome back to the Tobago Updates Morning Show. It is Youth Wednesdays. In studio with me this morning are representatives of the National Union of Government and Federated Workers. We have First Deputy President General Christopher Street and the Second Deputy General Clifton Simpson here to discuss some concerns with their upcoming election. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, my dear.
And how are you?
Excellent, you know.
All right. So can you just tell our viewers what the National Union of Government and Federated Workers is about?
The NUGFW, as we fondly refer to it, is a trade union under the Trade Unions Act, and it would have been formed somewhere in the 30s, 1937, I believe, to be exact. And what that trade union does, it provides representation to workers, right? It sees about their political, social, and economic welfare or well-being of workers. So that is our role and function as a trade union, basically. And we go about achieving that by providing representation for these workers in different places. In fact, the NUGFW represents some 52, I think, bargaining units. And a bargaining unit is an entity, an industry, a cooperative in terms of a business. And our biggest bargaining unit is the government daily rated employees in central and local government, and the THA. All the daily rated workers that fall within those bargaining units are represented by the NUGFW.
Okay.
Basically, that is what the union is about.
That's the union. Okay, so as we know, elections are an important step in any organization, but this situation is a bit unique in itself. Now, you all are running against the current President General, Mr. James Lambert. Can you share with us a little bit about that situation?
Yeah, I have been the first Deputy President General of the NUGFW since 2008. James Lambert would have been the President General from then, at that time also. But jump ahead to 2024. After 16 years of being loyal in terms of the organization and accepting James Lambert as the leader, we have felt that at this time, at this juncture, we can no longer go on with James Lambert as the leader. James Lambert has turned into a tyrant. James Lambert has become very undemocratic. James Lambert has gotten to the place where he is of the view that the NUGFW is his personal and private property. In fact, he operates it as that. We are run under a constitution, and James Lambert has admitted to us that while the constitution says certain things, he really not in agreement with them. So therefore he's going to run the union as he sees fit. And we are saying that that is untenable. We would not sit idly by and allow that to happen. And therefore, we have the view, as we reach this juncture, that we should remove James Lambert. Challenge and remove James Lambert, because we too have a number of plans that we feel will redound to the benefit of the membership of the NUGFW. Hence, we decide to take this step in removing him and replacing him with something better, not personally me, but an executive that will appreciate and an executive that will respect the constitution of the organization.
Okay, within those 16 years that he has been running the trade union, do you think that he did a good job in terms of representing the members?
At some point in time, because remember, he would have replaced someone. There was an election in 2008, and the membership decided that they're going to give our team the opportunity to run the union. And of course, during that period, certain benefits would have been coming forward, but then that is the role of the union. I said we here from 1937. So from 1937, as we go along, yes, because you ask your great-grandfather, he could tell you he used to work for 25 cents a day, right? That those progressions and those progressive things would have been done by the trade union, by our union. And of course, from 2016 to now, yes, we'd have made some inroads by his leadership, not necessarily by him, but by him providing the necessary leadership. And we feel that, yes, that was done, but the way in which he has begun to carry on the business of the organization, no accountability, no democracy, carrying on the organization in a manner that is ultra-various, the rules, the constitution of the union, and he has paid no regards. Lately, though, for the last 5 or 6 years, he has really fallen down on the job, right? I don't know if it's age-related, I can't say, but I know, being there with him, he has fallen down on the job. He seldom shows up to important things. And, you know, he really, as they say, is inertia that taking him forward. He has been there, and he's just going forward. We have the view that he should have done the honorable thing and not put forward himself again at this age for a role as the leader of the union. There may be other things that he could have been, you know, assisting the organization with, but in terms of the leadership, we have the view that James Lambert has lost the energy, has lost the what we will want to call the fight to carry on. Because to win anything for people, you must have that energy in making those representations, and we have the view that that has gone out of him, and therefore we cannot sit idly by and allow him to continue. And we know at the end of the day, the representation that he will be providing would not be in the best interest of our members.
But if I may, even to that, our rules does not specifically say that there's a retirement age for executive officers. But at the time when the rules were formulated, no one would have anticipated that someone would take advantage of the rules and abuse it to such an extent. Historically, if you look back to the leaders who would have passed before, Nathaniel Critchlow, Selwyn John, Leslie Clifford, Sonny Ali Sheikh, and the one that was not re-elected in Robert Giuseppe, not one of them reached the age of even 70. And to take, and they had the tenacity to have a very vibrant general council and executive. So younger persons who were coming through the movement would have learned, and we would have developed skill sets along the way. But as it stands now, those persons who are coming through, save and except they would have had personal advice and experience from us. In fact, the persons who he proposes to force upon the union now, they have not had that benefit. And they hardly likely to have it because of the fact that he has been abusing the rules and not calling meetings as he ought to in accordance with the rules. And if he continues like that, it spells a certain level of doom for our organization. And if the organization falls in terms of representation and in terms of the leadership who is there, it means membership will drop. It means that the general public and the employers would lose respect for the union, and it would diminish our ability to influence positive change on behalf of workers in Trinidad and Tobago. That is what it does, and that is what it means, the implication of it.
Okay, so if we're looking on your shirts, we're seeing the Workers' Guardian and we're seeing the emblem of an eagle. Can you tell me what is going to be different with the Workers' Guardian if you all are elected to the trade union?
Well, in the first instance, we sought to bring a team who we are confident has a high level of integrity, because we are committed to, we have made commitments to the membership that once elected, we are going to do certain things in our manifesto. And we do not want persons who would say one thing today and then change their mind along the course. It would mean that we would have come and lied to the membership. That is not what we are out to do. Our intention is to build this union from where it is now to where it used to be, and even to train persons who will take over and make it even greater than when we will be leaving it in the near future.
Okay. Has a date been called for the elections?
The 28th of October, the Constitution requires that the election be held the last Monday in October. Save and except is a public holiday, then it goes the following Monday.
Every 4 years.
Every 4 years. So and it happens to fall on the 28th of October this year. Mind you, this election was supposed to be held in 2023. James Lambert came to us and he said, based on what he sees in the accounts and whatnot, it would not be viable for the union to hold an election because it was an expensive exercise last year. And so we went to the Congress and got it extended, the term extended by another year. And those are the persons who, if you really consult them, the Congress and the General Council, the Executive, these are the parts of the union that makes the really effective decisions. But if you don't call no meeting, it is impossible for them to even make a decision or pronounce on something.
Okay, and who is eligible to vote in this election?
Well, in the first instance, persons who have membership at least 3 years financial without broken service as a member are eligible to run for office. And in the second instance, every single financial member of the union, persons who pay their dues consistently, those are the persons who will be eligible to vote.
Okay.
Which at this point amongst about 17,000 and change.
Okay, and how can people vote?
Well, in accordance with the rules, there will be polling stations placed in different parts of both Trinidad and Tobago. It will be advertised in the media, and our page, because we have a page, we will also be putting up that information where it would be. But the rules say we have to have an independent election supervisor, and the election supervisor will be in charge of a committee of persons who were elected by the General Council. And it is through them that we will know exactly where the official polling stations will be, and that information will be coming out as far as I'm aware, next week sometime. Yes.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Simpson and Mr. Street, for joining us here on the Tobago Updates morning show. Okay, viewers, we would go for a break. Don't forget to share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be back for more.
Now here what's going on. You see this section? It makes me feel to move. You know why? It's called Pina Colada. I like Pina Colada. Oh.
Forget just the girl them crave for. They really need it too. When you play with
oh my goodness, and as the name says, it is as creamy as it's sweet.
You never wanna leave cause the drinks them running for throw. Cause I really feel a vibe every time I start right down and up band like this, man, it's nothing like this, not you be like you. Again, jam say something and nobody like you. And every single time we touch, you know I never stop.
This is Pina Colada, something nice with a little bit of spice, and of course, not once, but we're gonna do it twice.
Cruise, make the
we are on the road with Pina Colada. Boom, boom.
Tobago Carnival is just around the corner, and Bethel Credit Union has you covered. Whether you're prepping for costumes, parties, giveaways, or a staycation, it's all within your reach with our Carnival loan sale. For as little as $900 a month, yes, $900 a month, you can get the funds you need to make this Carnival season unforgettable. At Bethel Credit Union, we're here to make your celebration dreams a reality. Visit us today or call 639-8226 for more information. Normal lending criteria applies because we see you at BCU.
when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to Youth Wednesdays and Tobago Updates Morning Show. You're bringing us here live in Port Moresby, Carnival, Tobago. This morning we want to continue the budget debate, but from a more youthful perspective, relative to the parliamentary discussions and the allocations that has been, been brewing on the island post the budget debate 2 Mondays ago, if I'm not mistaken. So this morning we'll be talking with Mr. Luke James Trim, CARICOM Youth Ambassador here representing Tobago. And I will also be joining us this morning in this interview as my co-host is Miss Natalia Nances. Good morning, Mr. Trim.
Good morning, Dwayne. Good morning, Natalia. Good morning, Tobago. It's always a pleasure to be here on Tobago Updates.
Of course, it's always a pleasure to have Luke with us.
Yes. This morning when I learned that you were coming, I was expecting you to be here in person. However, I often forget, that you wear many hats. You're a student, you're ambassador, you're president of this, president of that. So, we want to get right into the discussion about the budget. What are your general thoughts on the budget, post the budget debate 2 Mondays ago?
Well, Dwayne, at the surface level, the money that was allocated seems to be in the right places. If we're to look at health, national security, and education, I think those are 3 factors, sectors within the country that needed that high allocation. From a youthful perspective, Dwayne, it's very difficult for us as youth leaders or even as young people to really tune into our budget when we're not really included in the process. For example, you would have known that we had the post-budget debate discussion, we had the post and the pre-budget debate discussion, but when are we going to have that opportunity where young people are included during the process? Because if we are to really create a budget that reflects the needs and aspirations of the youth, it is my strong belief that young people need to be included in that process. Actually, when we had the discussion at Parliament, that was one thing we advocated for that opportunity where young people could really be a part of the budget making process, so that we shift away from that tokenistic perspective.
You know that the budget, the planning for the budget and the preparations of the budget has many stages. Based on what you're saying, at what stage do you believe that the youth ought to be including, and what does inclusion look like for you based on the discussions that you've been having thus far?
Well, Dwayne, we have various organizations such as Trinidad and Tobago Youth Councils. In addition to that, we have other youth organizations. Inclusion can come at any stage. To me, we have that stage where the budget is presented by the Honorable Minister, Finance Minister. Can we as youth be a part of a committee where he gives that presentation for the Ministry of Youth? He can include something that we would like to see, some policies we would like to see. Moreover, we have that aspect where the actual minister that's responsible for the Ministry of Youth, he will give more detail into what his ministry plans to do where youth are concerned. How can we be a part of that? How can we have a sit-down conversation with the minister and tell him, hey, these are the agendas that we as youth are focusing on, and we would like to see some things implemented, Dwayne. Sometimes people think that inclusion needs to be this big, large thing where we have to actually be in Parliament debating, but it starts before, Dwayne. It's really the little things that matter, because we don't like as youth when you give us a document, when you give us a policy, you just give us to review and give 2 cents so you can go on a platform and say, oh, and by the way, we had the youth perspective on this, when in actuality we didn't really have a say in. I think that is the main thing we are trying to stay away from. So that is just my opinion on that matter.
All right. And would you say that this your call, for more youth inclusion at key stages in the budget, planning, preparation, and presentation, that your call is a new call? And if not, what is different with this call? What is your hope coming from this call? Because I mean, some might argue, but this is not new. It's not new advocacy. This has been an old thing. What do you hope to happen emanating from your advocacy?
Well, rightfully so, Louis. This is not a new call. I think other youth that have come before me, they have all had that same sentiment that we want to be included. I think the difference with me or with my position as CARICOM Youth Ambassador is the influence that it carries, especially where the media attention is concerned. So we would have observed that when I would have advocated for the island of Tobago to be allocated more money, that the media houses picked it up. We were in the newspapers, we were on TV. So I think the difference now is that we have more pull when it comes to the media. It's not a matter where we're just speaking and our voices are not being heard. Additionally, we have organizations such as Parliament that's giving us that platform to really advocate as young people. So the difference with our advocacy is let me use the right word, is the pull that comes with it. Is the tsunami that it creates. We have so many young people who are tuning in and being sensitized about these issues, that are being informed about this is what we should be fighting for. So in the past, while we would have observed that some youth leaders would have fight for the cause and they would not have gotten the traction that we really wanted to see, now we have the support of the media, we have the support of Parliament, and we even have our own platforms that we are using to really bring our point across.
All right, and now I'm listening to your conversation and you're saying that you would have liked to see more inclusion, right? What is it, in your opinion, that you would have liked to see in the budget itself? I mean, there is the budget and then there is your opinion on how the budget should have looked in terms of inclusion for youths or inclusion for Tobago on a whole. So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, Natalia, when it comes to my thoughts, especially where the islands are concerned, I have to be very careful with my thoughts, because I realize that there are some mischievous people out there that are trying very hard to politicize my opinions. But in that regard, I think it's very difficult from the island perspective for us to push that youth agenda when we are operating on a very restricted budget. On the surface level, we will hear that the island got this point, that $1 billion, and it sounds really, and you will say to yourself, oh, that's a lot of money. But when you pick it apart, you come to the realization that most of that funds goes towards recurrent expenditure. And when you see the allocation we have for development, island development, and also the youth development, it's very restricted. It is my opinion that if the island is supposed to really step into those development conversations, especially where our youth are concerned, it is extremely difficult for us to do that with the current allocation that we are receiving. Yes, we appreciate the fact that the island of Tobago has received some sort of increase within the past years, but we understand that when you look at the history of the Tobago House of Assembly, we have seen so many administrations passing in and out of the assembly, and one common denominator that we all had when it comes to advocating for the island of Tobago is that we need more money. Yes, we understand that, okay, there's some sort of increase was given, but I think that it is not enough. It is my opinion that the island has continuously been subjected to a history of insufficiency of funding. And, while we appreciate that Trinidad and Tobago are somewhat fraternal twins, and Trinidad may be the larger island, I think that some level of equality or equity needs to be given to the island so that we don't have to be so dependent on central government to really push the island perspective. You would have asked me what inclusion looks like to me, Natalia. I think it starts with Tobago's autonomy. That is a topic that I have been engaging in from a non-political perspective, thankfully. I was so grateful to see that so many young people, especially here on the university campus, that we were able to have the conversations so that the island can really manage the issues and those sectors that really speaks to what makes us Tobagonians. I think that is one step where it starts. Secondly, I think that it's time for us to stay away from tokenism, Natalia. In these spaces, you will see so many young people in the photo ops, you will see us taking the pictures. But if you are to ask them, so what contribution were you make, and moreover, what contribution did you make that you were able to see implemented? It's very difficult for us to give a positive response. So I think that we need to really work towards bridging that gap between youth and our decision makers and our politicians. I think that mutual respect is what is needed, because sometimes people think it's the age difference between us and the decision makers, but it really comes down to mutual respect, them respecting us and us giving them the respect that they so need. So that's my response to that question.
Okay, and okay, so I have a question. Should we see the upper part of the scale? Because we know that based on past budgets and stuff like that, we have been receiving the lower part of that allocation.
4.3%.
About 4.3%, right? So should we see that 6.8% that we all hope that someday will come to us? What do you think are some of the things that can come out of it in terms of our island's development? What do you think we can do with that money to help develop Tobago some more, especially from a youth's perspective?
Well, Natalia, we are all aware that the DRC would have made a really strong recommendation that the island of Tobago, when it comes to the national budget, receives somewhere between 4.3 to 6.9% of the national budget. And like you rightfully said, we have been observing that we have been receiving the lower end, that's the 4.3%. Now, we all know that very soon we will expect that new airport to roll out right there, the new A&R Robinson Airport, the international airport. And while we appreciate that was some sort of step towards development, Natalia, the reality is no right-thinking person is going to come to Tobago just to see an airport. It all comes down to the experience that they receive when they exit that airport terminal and start to explore the island. I think that with a greater allocation from the national budget, we can really boost our tourism and orange economy. We can ensure that when people come to the island, that they receive an experience. They receive that type of experience you get when you go to Jamaica and the Montego Bay. Those are the type of conversations you want to push the island of Tobago into. But with a restricted budget, Natalia, the reality is, what type of development can we really achieve? But how can we really, develop the island when we have so many things to do? It shouldn't be a matter where we have money and we have to be monopolizing where we allocate this fund to or that fund to or that fund to. It makes no sense to have an airport that's looking so good and modern, and then when you exit the airport terminal, the experience you get from the island doesn't commensurate with that. So I believe that with a greater national allocation from the budget, the island of Tobago can really become like the next Jamaica, the next Montego Bay, the next St. Lucia. Like, we want the island of Tobago to really be in those conversations, Natalia. We can upgrade our heritage parks, or beach facilities can get upgraded. These are the little things that matter. We can start to push more money into our culture. I remember when I was in Trinidad and someone walked up to me and she was giving me her recount of the Belman Araya Heritage Festival. How can we really make that on a wider scale, Natalia? These are the things, the cultural card that makes us Tobagonians. These are the things that we can push our funding into so that the island really becomes the island that we will want to see.
Yes, I do hear you. Yes.
Thank you very much, Luke. Luke, listen, you seem very pro Tobago, and when you look at the budget, we see where the as you rightfully said, the recurrent expenditure being receiving an increase, but there was actually a decrease in comparison to last year. Last year's allocation for the development expenditure or capital development was 260 million. Now we're seeing 205 million. And emanating from that conversation and that observation, you would have posed a question to our Honorable Senator, Mr. Lawrence Hislop, about his thoughts on the budget. And I don't want to rehash or misquote what he said, but my question to you is, are you satisfied with the rationale that is given when persons say that, oh well, there are ministries in Trinidad that are given allocations for expenditure in Tobago? Are you satisfied with that rationale, and is it a cogent rationale? What are your thoughts?
Do they put me on the spot here? I have to be very diplomatic with my response. In regards to that rationale, Dwayne, I think that rightfully so, people may have their agendas, and at the end of the day, there are people who need to protect the organization that they serve. Yes, we understand that people may have different reasonings for whatever decisions they make, but from my opinion, and don't quote me on this, I don't think it was a satisfactory enough response, especially when we are trying to have conversations where the youth are concerned. I think that the response was one that was extremely predictable because it was something that we would have already heard. I don't think the response was something that was unique. It was something that we anticipated would have been said on national television for various reasons, and reasons we don't blame him or anyone for, because at the end of the day, we don't expect anyone to go against their organizations or go against the agenda of the organization that they serve. I think, Dwayne, it is rightfully so that we understand that the island of Tobago has always been asking for more, and that's why I'm always interested to engage in the conversation, because it's not a conversation that's unique to one political party. Like I said earlier, we have seen so many political parties pass through the THA, and they all had that same sentiment that the island of Tobago needs more. And you know, when you move from Tobago and you start to live in Trinidad and you listen to the perspectives they have about the island and the way they think about us as Tobagonians, just like that, conversations about our island's autonomy, it starts to get a bit more potency. You know, it starts to sound a bit more attractive. You know, that cultural shift from the island of Tobago to Trinidad, it makes you just have that pride for your island and have more appreciation for being Tobagonian, and to really wave that Tobagonian pride high. Dwayne, I think that as time progresses, I think that we should be seeing a bit more conversations where the island is concerned. I would have observed that the Honorable Prime Minister, when he would have given his contribution in Parliament, he would have urged that the opposition support the Tobago Autonomy Bill. He sounded passionate about it. I know that we understand that on the where it comes to the current THA, while they are for Tobago's autonomy, they are not satisfied with the bill at its current stage. So I look forward to see how they are going to mend that situation. You know, I'm always locked in. I'm always observing everything from both sides. You know, I listen to all sides and filter myself and give the most unbiased opinion I can. So I'm really looking forward to see how that bill progress. And yeah.
How much I appreciate the fact that you would have highlighted the fact that this ought not to be a political issue. It is a political issue. It should not be a partisan issue, right? And I too can share in the experience of being a Tobagonian studying in Trinidad. And you know, sometimes when you hear the commentary coming from our counterparts and our colleagues in Trinidad because of our development and how it has been stymied over the years, you mentioned that there have been different incarnations of the THA, but there have also been different incarnations of the central government who have continually been given Tobago on the lower echelon of the DRC range, right? And you know, I very much appreciate the fact that you would have you would have lent your views on that. But my question to you is, Luke, non-partisan view, but one that is political, non-partisan. What is next in terms of helping Tobago get the development from a youthful perspective and from an overall perspective? Because the youth are the future for tomorrow, evident by you being here. All right, what is the next move? What is your next move in terms of advocacy? Because there is a need for us as Tobagonians to really begin to speak out, because the longer we take to develop is the more expensive and impossible it becomes. What are your thoughts?
Well, Dwayne, I think you and I both know what is my next step, even though it's not something that I'm going to speak about just yet. But it takes me back to when I would have visited Antigua for the Small Island Developing States Conference at International Conference. And we saw the benefit of what that conference had for the island of Antigua and Barbuda in terms of the footwork into the island, in terms of so many young people flying into the island for these conferences. And it made me question, how can the island of Tobago experience that level of attendance? How can the island of Tobago really get into those conversations when it comes to conferences? You know, we are appreciating the youth space when we are traveling and we go into these conferences. Tobago is oftentimes left out. So my agenda and my next step is, how can the island of Tobago be the next destination for a summit of that magnitude or any type of summit, Dwayne? And with that is all I will say. I don't want to take the cat out of the bag too.
But Luke, we want to thank you for joining us this morning. It's always a pleasure having you. You know, and I hope that wherever you go and wherever you are right now, that you pull a lot more Tobagonians regardless of their political divide, wherever they're studying, it doesn't matter, right? I pray that, you know, your advocacy does redound to something tangible for Tobago in terms of its development, especially where youth are concerned. Thank you very much for joining us, and it's always a pleasure having you here, Mr. Trim, right? Do have a pleasant day. And guys, unfortunately, this brings us to the end of this interview. We have another one coming up to you, and then we go over to GMT Tobago. So just remember to share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
Tell them I can't do even bother calling me. Tell them I can't. I said tell them I can't do even bother calling me. Tell them.
Kyrie People presents Runaway. Runaway. Wednesday, October 16th at the iconic Pigeon Point Beach from 12 noon to 7 p.m. with the All-Stars Band featuring College Boy Jesse.
Who want to drink from with me? Everybody come there.
And Ding Dong. Guest artist Mama Nappy. And Waddings. Your DJ's Mighty Crush and Selected 3D. Your MC, Snoopy. This is a $600 premium all-inclusive event. Get your tickets now at Sans Fashion, D Coliseum Mall, Shade Monkey, Lust Restaurant and Lounge, Gold City Mall, Gonzalez One Stop Shop Scarborough, and Dacres Beauty Supply Sport Mall. The after party is at Jade Monkey Bar and Grill. For more info, call 483-2264, 742-1674, or 731-5916. Runaway, Wednesday, October 16th at the iconic Pigeon Point Beach, Tobago.
Attention members, now is your chance to double or even triple your dividend payment with no increase in your existing loan payment. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity to boost your dividends effectively. Whether you're planning a vacation or simply looking to maximize your savings, we've got you covered. Call us today at 639-8226 or 631-1336. Message us on Facebook for more information. Hurry, this offer won't last long. Bethel Credit Union, because we see you at BCU.
Attention soldiers, are you ready for the ultimate mission for Tobago Carnival? It's time to gear up for Army Fed Operation Rocks Glow.
I feel like I run in tongue again. No place like home. Put 'em in the center, put 'em in the center,
We're taking the vibes out to the countryside, where a premier cast of live entertainment will be pumping all night long. Army Fed Operation Rocks Glow. Join us on Thursday, 24th October at the Sid Gray Sporting Complex, Roxborough, for the high-energy Wear White Soca Bashment Rocks Glow. Army Fed Tobago. Operation Rocks Glow.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to our varying viewers here on Youth Wednesdays on Tobago Updates. We continue on this morning with Miss Nisha Agostini, who will be taking us through Carnival film screenings, the Tobago Carnival edition. I missed it up there a little bit. Good morning to you, Miss Nisha.
Good morning and welcome. You seem to be having a technical difficulty. I hope that you would have unmuted your mic. That might work. All right.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi. Good morning.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we are hearing you now. Good morning.
Hi. Good morning. Sorry, I was frozen there for a minute. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Now we have the topic of Carnival film screening. So before we get into it, I just want you to just explain to our viewers what film screening is all about.
Okay. Hi. Hi. So I'm hosting the Carnival Film Screenings Tobago edition at the Scarborough Library from Monday the 21st to Friday the 25th of October 2024. All screenings from 4 p.m. onwards are free and open to the public. The aim of Carnival film screenings is to attract an audience interested in learning more about the authentic and cultural experiences of the Carnival of Trinidad and Tobago. And like I said, we're partnering over the Tobago Carnival with the Scarborough Library to host these film screenings, which is basically a collection of local films with local filmmakers. And all the films are about Carnival. Tobago is not our actual premiere or inaugural launch. We were pleased to collaborate with the Gate Picture House Notting Hill Cinema over the Notting Hill Carnival. And we did host Carnival film screenings on the 23rd and 24th of August this year. And next year, we look to go to Trinidad. So Tobago actually has the first Carnival film screenings before Trinidad. And I'm pleased about that because Tobago is always close to my heart.
All right. So who is your target audience? Who is it that can submit their films to be screened and, enter into this Carnival screening or Carnival film collection on a whole?
I mean, we're open to filmmakers from all over the world. Once the topic encapsulate the theme of Carnival, we're interested to collaborate with you. And, please contact me. I have a Facebook page, Carnival Film Screenings, where you can send me a message to include your film in the listing. Maybe not for this year, but for future events, because like I said, we hope to go to Trinidad, to New York, London again, etc. Wherever there is a carnival, we hope to have Carnival film screenings. We are pleased to collaborate with Tobago Library Services, and I'm amazed that this facility exists and the support that I'm getting. And I'd like to thank Ms. Job for facilitating us this year for this event.
Okay. So what are some of the criteria that some people who may be interested in entering should have to bring? What are some of the things that you advise should be included in the films itself?
I mean, just send me your film on any theme on Carnival, any theme on Pan, Carnival making, costume making, any historical themes on Carnival. Any films that you have, anything that's dealing with Carnival, you can submit. We're looking at having, for example, a youth edition, and open to the public. The youth edition will be screened from 4 p.m. on Tuesday, the 22nd, and on Friday from 4 p.m. onwards. We have some local filmmakers that have made films on Carnival, and I think that there's a focus on the youth. So I'm hoping Tobago Updates will also, later on in upcoming segments, interview two of the filmmakers that are screening at Carnival Film Screening, namely Kendison Nori, who is also a local up-and-coming artist, painter in Trinidad and Tobago. He has a short film called Carnival Blues, which about Blue Devils and Paramen, which is a rite of passage for young boys to play, the Blue Devil character. And also, we also hope that you can interview Kevin Adams, who has a short film called No Soka, No Life, who is actually currently also producing a feature-length version to that film. And so he can talk about that more when he comes on board. So these are some of the selection of the films in the youth edition of the screening. the whole concept came as a result of the fact that I got some funding to produce a documentary called Upside Down, which looks at the history of Dragon Mass in Trinidad and Tobago. It's a short. I'm looking for additional funding to create a feature-length feature. But with the short, I was looking for platforms to screen my documentary. And it's been very, very difficult. I tried to get it on local TV. Sadly, everybody was willing to air it for free. But obviously, this is a career of mine. So, I was asking for nominal pay for it to be screened. Like what they would pay to local stations would pay to run a syndicated program, American program, etc. And, nothing was happening. I found a collective of filmmakers in the same boat as me, basically, that had a lot of work on Carnival specifically, and, they wanted a place to also show it. So I could conceptualize Carnival film screening as a space to be able to have a collective of filmmakers have a platform to have their work shown, not just in Trinidad and Tobago, but globally. And the fact that the Notting Hill Picture House, the Gate Cinema in Notting Hill, Picture House was able to come on board and willing to screen that film in London as part of the Notting Hill Carnival. We hope to have similar effects eventually in the Miami Carnival, maybe not this year, but next year, New York Carnival, and so on. So wherever there is a grouping of a Caribbean community, we're looking to find a space to show films on Carnival from Trinidad and Tobago, and maybe eventually throughout the Caribbean, but the Caribbean expression of Carnival. While approaching the Scarborough Library, I did reach out to some local people I know involved in film and the media here in Tobago to find out if I could have found any films or documentaries specifically on Tobago, and unfortunately I was not able to find anything. So I'm really hoping that Tobago Updates can I can reach out to people in Tobago that may have films that can reach out to me and to be part of this event.
All right. Good morning again, Ms. Augustini. I realize that your study is to highlight the different carnival across the world that has a Caribbean touch. Tobago's carnival is about two years old. It's the third incarnation of the Tobago Carnival. What are your hopes in soliciting this kind of support from Tobago in terms of highlighting Tobago's carnival? And my other question is, given the fact that you have experience globally about carnival, do you see any differences, any notable differences, any uniqueness, and any similarities in the theme of carnival across your study? What are your thoughts?
With regards to the Tobago Carnival, I'm hoping that Carnival Film Screenings is able to create another aspect of the Carnival that's more like a family-friendly event. Like I said, we had a focus on the youth screenings to involve families and children in these Carnival events. The Tobago Carnival, I think, is going along the route of having the big bands, etc. I remember when I actually came to Tobago 20 years ago to live and work initially, there was also a Tobago Carnival, and a difference that I see there that's not included here in this modern day carnival was the fact that the festivals committee gave grants to villages and small communities to have carnival bands. And there was that aspect of like a small band, a village-based band, bringing the village and community together, which I think is I'm not sure. I kind of looked about what's happening here, which is sadly missing. I mean, I saw an update recently that the small bands were lamenting at the fact that they weren't getting hardly any sponsors on board, and a lot of the attentions were going to the big bands and fets, etc. You know what I mean? So I hope that's something that I can see come out of it from viewing the carnivals in the previous years. I mean, and even in Trinidad Carnival, a lot of my documentary is focused on traditional mass, and I have a deep love for what is, a dying aspect of the carnival, where there is actual masquerade performance and theatrics, So I hope that's something that can be developed also here in Tobago and even in Trinidad. You know what I mean? I mean, Trinidad is making a small effort in having, the children's school, traditional carnival, etc. But I hope that's something that can be salvaged and preserved. And my documentary, Upside Down, in an attempt to look at that mass and the history of that mass which was basically the foundation of Caribbean Carnival.
All right. Thank you, Miss Agostini, so much for being with us this morning. Before we leave, before we finish off, I just want you to leave your contact information for anyone that may be willing to be a part of the film screening process.
Okay, so the email address is carnivalfilmscreenings@gmail.com, and you can go on to my Facebook page, Carnival Film Screenings. I can be found there, and send a message. And if you want any information or updates, please look on my Facebook page. I will give an update to this specific film that will be screened. And please, live this week, Monday to Friday, you're permitted to see amazing films on Trinidad and Tobago Carnival. So please come.
All right. Thank you so much once again, Miss Agostini. It's always a pleasure having new faces and new ideas to Tobago updates as we go forward. I do hope that you enjoy your day. Viewers, you stay safe. You enjoy your day as well as we come to the end of Youth Wednesdays and go straight into Good Morning Tobago. Very exciting. So before we go, Dwayne and I will just encourage you to share the live, share the live, share the live.
Have a great day.
Grief is really about phases. Some days you'll be good, some days you won't. Some days you'll feel on top of the world, and some days you'll feel like, you're in a pit and you can't come out. So I want to encourage people that as they go through phases to be compassionate towards themselves, to be gentle, and to always reach out, because social support is really what people need to help to bear the weight of this heaviness of loss. Support is what helps a woman, a family, people that are grieving overcome the loss that comes with losing an infant, whether it's miscarriage, stillbirth, or a neonatal death. And so today I'm hoping to help to break the silence, to normalize this. 1 in 4 women would experience some form of infancy or pregnancy loss.
The founder, Makita, is my cousin, and she was very supportive of Hannah Rose and I when we went through our loss in 2022. Even though it's naturally a painful experience for men as well, I think, as a man, it's really hard to fathom how painful of an experience it is for the women and the mothers who go through that experience. And community is extremely important. So the awareness for me, raising the awareness through the organization, is equally as important as the individual help that it gives to the people who go through those experiences.
Having the experience myself, it showed me a depth of pain that I think only others who have really experienced it could really know. And so it's really a healing thing to be able to connect with other people who could relate to the experience.
We know that we cannot be silent anymore. It is time for us to speak. The international theme this year is Together We Care. It is centered on the message that self-care is the most important integral way to show we care. In fact, It is essential if we are going to be able to raise awareness and speak out about pregnancy loss.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
Hey, the biggest and sexy.
Now here what's going on. You see this section? It makes me feel to move. You know why? It's called Pina Colada. I like Pina Colada. Oh.
For angels the girl them pray for, they really need you too. When you play with
oh my goodness, and as the name says, it is as creamy as it's sweet.
Never wanna leave cause the drinks them running for throw. Cause I really feel a vibe every time I start right down and up band like this, man, it's nothing like this, not you be like you. For angel me say something and nobody like you. And every single time we touch, you know I never stop.
This is Pina Colada, something nice with a little bit of spice, and of course, not once, but we're gonna do it twice.
Cruise make the border.
We are on the road with Pina Colada. Boom, boom.
Attention soldiers, are you ready for the ultimate mission for Tobago Carnival? It's time to gear up for Army-fed Operation Rocks Glow.
I feel like I run in tongue again. No place like
We're taking the vibes out to the countryside, where a premier cast of live entertainment will be pumping all night long. Army-fed Operation Rocks Glow. Join us on Thursday, 24th October at the Sid Gray Sporting Complex, Roxborough, for the high-energy Wear White Soca Bashment Rocks Glow. Army-fed Tobago. Operation Rocks Glow.
Swap down, track 7, Tobago, have a plan.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and hear me neighbor. 60,000 people strong, and the vibes is never wrong. We are beauty, we are power, we are people in the sun. We are beaches, we are rivers, we are melanated ones. We special and there is no denying. Tobago is number one. I am you and you are me. Together we're stronger. Good morning, Tobago.
Good morning, and welcome to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. I am your host, Chanel Felix, and you know, whenever you see me sitting here, it's because we're about to have those conversations that you want to have while I ask those questions that you want asked. But before we get into this morning's interesting conversations, remember you have a duty to share the live, and help us get back to where we once were and even further. So let's get into our news in 90 seconds. The Tobago Festivals Commission plans to collaborate with the National Carnival Commission for its October Carnival 2025. Chairman Kern Cowan announced that band leaders' payments will be distributed next week, just before the year's carnival on October 25th to 27th, assuring that the delay will not affect the festivities. Cowan explained that the $9 million budget is allocated primarily to production, marketing, and support for events and mass bands. Looking ahead to 2025, the Commission has already initiated discussions with NCC CEO Davlin Thomas to ensure planning and execution. Additionally, newly appointed Senator Ansel Dennis is urging the THA to support the Tobago Autonomy Bills, the Tobago Self-Governance Bill, and the Tobago Island Administration Bill, now under review by the Joint Select Committee. Dennis stressed the bill's importance in securing 6.8% of the national budget and granting Tobago the power to make its own laws through a new legislature, reducing national parliament's control. He urged political unity among the THA, TPP, and PDP to push the bills forward, acknowledging minor adjustments may be made during the debate. And finally, the DPP has identified a new office at the First Citizens Building on St. Vincent Street, Port of Spain, following a dispute with the AG, Reginald Amor, over the rejection of the Park Street building due to security concerns, despite 55 million in rent payments since 2019. DPP Gaspard confirmed the new site is more secure but requires refurbishment before the move. The AG's office has placed a bid for the building, though its status is unclear. The 2025 draft estimate allocation 3.13 million for outfitting the new office. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley criticized the DPP for refusing the Park Street site, but former AG Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj defended the decision, citing an independent investigation that cleared Gaspar from blame. And that was on News in 90 Seconds. Now, this morning, we continue our conversation on Tobago's development and the economy by touching a bit on that budgetary allocation that was given on the 30th of September in the national budget speech presented by the Minister for Finance, Colm Imbert. This morning, to have that conversation, we are chatting with economist Ralph Henry. Good morning and welcome.
Morning. Thank you for welcoming me.
All right. Well, I mean, the conversation has been long-standing since before the budget was presented to now. Conversations have been happening in the space regarding the allocation for Tobago, and there have been, arguments on both sides. We have heard senators saying that though the allocation may not seem sufficient, there are national projects that are happening that directly impact Tobago's development, while on the THA end of things, there's the conversation regarding stifling Tobago development through underfunding. Can you give us some perspective from where you sit?
Well, I suppose the budget would be seen as inadequate relative to Tobago's needs, but one needs to point out that the Minister of Finance projected a deficit. So it means that the overall expenditure of the government of Trinidad and Tobago is, the revenue is inadequate to meet the expenditure that has been planned. And it means, in effect, that nobody would have gotten the allocations that they would have expected or required. And that's the situation in respect of Tobago. One should add, however, that the Minister of Finance did indicate that he is allocating within the limit, at least it's just above the lower limit that has been set by the Dispute Resolution Commission, which is 4.03. None of our governments have ever got much beyond that lower limit of 4.03% of the national allocation being made available to Tobago. So this is where it's at. And there'll always be complaints on both sides that the Tobago has gotten as much as could be secured from the revenue that is anticipated, and Tobago will argue that it has not gotten enough. And clearly, Tobago needs a lot more funding in keeping with the objectives of the present THA and even the past THA.
Right, and you know, we have heard persons on the THA side, specifically technical officer at the Division of Finance, Mr. Anselm Richards, you know, stating that DRC ruling is outdated in 2024. You know, that 4.03 to 6.9, that limit should not still be applied in 2024, you know, to a growing population, especially when we account for things like inflation and the difference in prices between Trinidad and Tobago. It is no secret that Tobagonians often pay more for products than in Trinidad. It's no secret that Tobagonians are often, you know, venturing down to Trinidad to clear goods, to clear products, just to bring back to Tobago. That puts on that extra expense for persons here on the island. Are you in agreement that that type of measurement for what Tobago is allocated is a bit outdated in 2024?
Yes, it is. And the present administration and the previous administration have made that point that 4.03 is absolutely inadequate, having regard to the situation in Tobago, which has always been dependent, you know, well, I wouldn't say from time immemorial, but has been dependent on securing goods and services from Trinidad, which results in a pass on of costs. So things that are landed in Trinidad have to come to Tobago with an added expenditure in terms of transport. So all these things would usually be much more expensive in Tobago than in Trinidad. That's a fact. Yeah.
Right,
so,
and
so
even as
they're both right.
all right, and even as Tobago, you know, has this back and forth struggle, pull and tug for resources where the development budget is concerned. You know, trying to go to the dispute resolution committee now is a lengthy process. You know, that we may not see the result of maybe until next year. In the meantime, what are some financial and economic decisions that can be an alternative to the national budget that Tobago can use to fulfill its development mandate?
Well, whether it's at the Dispute Resolution Commission or is between discussions between the central government and the local government, it's the matter of a decision as to whether Tobago or the THA is allowed to secure additional financing is still the issue. And I think the previous THA administration did secure the agreement of the central government in raising some finance from elsewhere. I don't know to what extent the present administration has been able to secure that sort of privilege. I think in the past the THA did access financing directly from the Caribbean Development Bank. You know, I don't know all the details of it, but I have a sense that it was able to secure financing for particular projects in Tobago from the Caribbean Development Bank. So, you know, it's a negotiation process, whether it's at the Dispute Resolution Commission or in the discussions between the central government and the THA. It's about a discussion that both parties should engage in if there's to be any resolution of the problem of inadequacy of funds.
Excellent. And moving forward, do you think that the Tobago representatives in the parliament, i.e. the representative for Tobago East and West, have any input in voicing the concerns of Tobagonians at the parliamentary level to echo the sentiment of Tobago needing more?
I am not in a position to comment on that, but I'd imagine that as representatives of particular constituencies, that is their responsibility. But I can't, I'm not in a position to say how well or how badly they have been doing this. But, like all other representatives of constituencies, that's a requirement on their part.
Excellent. And when we look at Tobago's overall contribution to the national purse, there's the argument that does Tobago contribute sufficiently for what it is requesting? But there's the other side of that coin that asks, how can one truly assess Tobago's contribution when definitions are not clear in regards to what defines Tobago and what defines Trinidad in regards to our marine borders, or the marine space? What is defined as Tobago and Trinidad when we look at some of our resources in the water, like oil and gas? When we look at things like tax being collected in Tobago, some of the businesses that operate in Tobago, they pay taxes in Trinidad. So how can one fully assess Tobago's overall contribution when these things are not very clear?
Well, there always be a lack of clarity in the system of taxation and the issue of the raising of revenue from both Tobago and Trinidad. What I do recall, however, is that in the late 1980s, when the economy of Trinidad and Tobago went south, that there was a decline in foreign exchange earnings of the country, and there's a decline in economic activity in the country, that when one looked at the data from Tobago, one saw that the advent of a tourism sector in Tobago was, in a sense, reducing the speed of decline in the overall economy of Trinidad and Tobago, so that Tobago was making a contribution in respect of foreign exchange earnings, which came from the tourism sector in Tobago. And if one were to project into the present, Tobago could be making a much larger contribution if it were able to get its tourism infrastructure, its tourism sector up to the level that it might have been, anticipated maybe 15, 20 years ago. But clearly there has been a decline in the sector, and that's not good neither for Tobago nor Trinidad, and for Trinidad and Tobago. And I think the attempt on the part of the THA and the government to address the issue of crime is critical, because Tobago has now is almost typified with the travel advisories that are being put out on Trinidad, travel to Trinidad. And it has to, in work that I've been involved in much earlier, maybe 15, 20 years ago, we did point out that Tobago needed to retain its characterization as being safe, clean, green, safe, and serene. And in order to ensure that it should be safe, it needed to invest in crime detection and crime, the fight back against crime. And we had recommended back then that the THA needed to invest in facilities at the port of Port of Spain to ensure that transport equipment, whether cars or trucks, whatever, should be checked routinely to make sure that there wasn't the transport of guns and so on into Tobago, to keep Tobago safe, even though Trinidad was already experiencing a crime problem.
All right.
Tobago needed to isolate itself. That it didn't happen, and we see the results.
All right.
That crime is up in Tobago.
And when we look from a national level, we hear the Prime Minister, saying that we need to buckle down for, difficult times ahead until 2027. What are your perspectives on this? Especially when we see economies in the Caribbean thriving, like Guyana, and our Prime Minister is now coming to say we have to, be, very prudent with the resources that we have up until 2027.
Well, the conditions in Guyana and Trinidad are vastly different. The economy of Guyana grew by over 50% last year or year before, largely on the basis of the finds of oil and the export of oil that has been established and has been found in large quantities in Guyana, as compared to Trinidad, where we have a difficulty, our capacity to deliver gas to the plants in Point Lisas has been severely constrained by the lack of finds within the last 10 or so years. So we have seen a decline in output of gas, extraction of gas and oil, as compared to Guyana, which has had massive increases, so that the conditions, since both surely the economy of Guyana now and the economy of Trinidad and Tobago has been driven by export of gas and oil, and in our case from the derivatives from gas. Since we don't have gas, it means that we would suffer a decline in revenue from foreign exchange earnings from the sector. And our economy is still dependent on the export of fossil fuels and the derivatives of fossil fuels. But you notice that the Prime Minister said that, well, we have to still depend on that sector, as limited as it is in its in production, to generate the resources to diversify the economy, because the essential problem of Trinidad and Tobago has been that we have been too reliant on the extraction of fossil fuel from what nature has provided. And we have to move to an economy which is driven by export of other goods and services. Because, again, another reality of Trinidad and Tobago, as is the case with the rest of the Caribbean, we just have to export to survive. Look around, you go home and you look at everything that we consume is based on a substantial amount of imported goods and also of services, and those have to be paid for, and they can only be paid for with output that we produce that is required and is accepted and paid for by the international community. That's our reality.
Now, for a very long time, the conversation of economic diversification has been happening in Trinidad and Tobago. Yes. But what does economic diversification truly look like?
Well, it means that when we think of our reality going forward, it will mean that we will be exporting a whole range of goods and services, and also, to the extent possible, producing some of the goods that we need in our domestic community, including agricultural output from our agricultural sector. It means diversification is not finding an alternative product or alternative service, but finding a number of services tourism being part of them too, all right, as well as goods that we can produce that we can sell in the international community.
Excellent.
That's the fact. So it's a range of things. It's not one thing, not one service. It's tourism and a range of other services, a range of other goods. And that calls for a tremendous work on the part of the national community. It means, and I typify it as being, you know, if one could boldly extract any lessons from our reality, is that the capital that we have in the ground, or we have had in the ground in terms of what nature has provided in terms of gas and oil, we have to see that is a capital that we have in our heads and that we can put in the heads of our people. The human capital, knowledge. Every head is a capacity, you know, is a capacity for having knowledge and useful information that can be used to produce goods and services. So it's a capital in the head rather than the capital in the ground under us that will take us where we need to go.
Thank you so much, Mr. Henry. Thank you so much for coming on and having this conversation with me, you know, in terms of how to best utilize our limited resources here in Tobago and giving us, you know, those perspectives. I look forward to chatting with you again soon. We want to thank you again. Guys, we're going to take a quick break. Go ahead. Let
me just say, the capital in the head is limitless. When we understand what the challenge is, it's limitless based on what we put into our heads. So it means our education and training systems just have to get up to speed, and we have to have a population willing to learn and to apply whatever they learn and knowledge and so on to produce goods and services. That's the challenge.
I totally agree. Thank you so much. We're going to take a quick break right here, and we're going to be back with lots more conversations. See you soon, guys.
Start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks a favor to wake up and hear me neighbor.
Are you an architect or draftsman looking to upgrade your skills, or a beginner eager to master essential tools? ReCAD Labs has the solution. Our Revit Architecture Fundamental Tobago course is designed to boost your skills and confidence. Running from October 6th to November 17th, this course includes a live session on November 17th for hands-on learning. Learn from experts in our virtual classroom and stay ahead in the world of architecture. Visit recadlabs.com to enroll now and follow us on social media for updates.
Tobago Carnival is just around the corner, and Bethel Credit Union has you covered. Whether you're prepping for costumes, parties, giveaways, or a staycation, it's all within your reach with our Carnival loan sale. For as little as $900 a month, yes, $900 a month, you can get the funds you need to make this Carnival season unforgettable. At Bethel Credit Union, we're here to make your celebration dreams a reality. Visit us today or call 639-8226 for more information. Normal lending criteria applies, because we see you at BCU.
People presents Runaway. Runaway, Wednesday, October 16th at the iconic Pigeon Point Beach from 12 noon to 7 p.m. with the All-Stars Band featuring College Boy Jesse.
Who want to drink rum with me? Everybody come there.
And Ding Dong.
I wanna ramage and drink something and break away.
Guest artist Mama Nappy.
Hey you, can you have a hold on me what you want me to
and
do?
Waddings. Your DJ's Mighty Crush and Selected 3D. Your MC, Snoopy. This is a $600 premium all-inclusive event. Get your tickets now at Sans Fashion, D Coliseum Mall, Jade Monkey, Lust Restaurant and Lounge, All City Mall, Gonzalez One Stop Shop Scarborough, and Dacres Beauty Supply Sport Mall. The after party is at Jade Monkey Bar and Grill. For more info, call 483-2264, 742-1674, or 731-5916. Runaway, Wednesday, October 16th at the iconic Pigeon Point Beach, Tobago.
Good morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. Now, you should know by now that we are preparing for that October Carnival that's going to be happening here on the island of Tobago from the 25th to the 27th. But even as we lead up to the Carnival, there's so much activity happening on the island, so much conversation happening, and this morning we are chatting with Mr. Dexter Sandy, who is the president of TOKA, the Tobago October Carnival Association. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Chanel. Good morning to all your viewers.
Right, now, there's a lot that's happening. You know, there's no shortage of activities, events, to get persons engaged from all sectors.
Yeah.
And you have been working with a number of stakeholders to ensure that this 2024 Carnival is a success. Now, there has been challenges, but moving forward, you guys are ready?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Definitely the mass bands. We have been getting ready since we've launched as early as May, June. Bands have been coming out, doing their individual marketing at the various malls, plazas. I know bands have even ventured down to Trinidad and done their own individual activations on the avenue and various popular spots, right? All in an effort to get the domestic market to come to Tobago, because we know traditionally Tobagonians are not the majority on the road. So we've marketed here at home and we've gone to Trinidad. Also, we've used social media a lot through influencers and sponsored ads to really reach out to the market outside of Tobago, all in an effort to get persons interested to come and play the mass.
Right, and now partnerships are extremely important, specifically for this carnival. There has been the conversation about moving away from the responsibility of the Festivals Commission and the THA to developing the festival to the point where it is mostly private sector funded and managed, similar to the Trinidad Carnival. Yeah. Do you think that enough resources are being dedicated in order to build capacity among stakeholders to have that type of move come 2025 and beyond, that the festival can stand on its own?
Definitely, a lot has been done, but a lot more can be done. And in terms of the timing of when it's done, right? So we've been having discussions from as early as March this year, and we have been saying, you know, the direction of marketing is very key from 6-7 months out to make sure the world knows that Tobago Carnival is on. And even at home here, the residents on the island must have a feel and a vibe. So we need to ensure that the island displays carnival images, characters, the awareness is built here, as well as the activations on the ground need to be on a larger scale. And not only through social media, but traditional media. You know, yesterday I was in a conversation with a more mature guy, and he's like, I haven't seen anything on the traditional Express, this on the Express or the Guardian. In the past, you would have seen ads. Those are some of the things, some of the mediums that we should use very early up to signal that we are here. It also allows for sponsors, right? The same private sector to gather that sense of confidence in what is to come. So the conversations could start very early. You can have the big brands that we all know and love come to all the bands, even to the promoters, to the Calypso tents, and say, listen, we're interested in partnering with you, all in an effort to really present Tobago Carnival as a signature experience.
All right, and when it comes to the grant that is being distributed to band leaders, do you think it can be more effective if distributed in two tranches? Let's say earlier up to help bands with their activation and launches, and then a second tranche that helps with the actual construction and production.
Well, actually, with regards to financial support for the bands, we don't have a confirmation exactly on what is to come. I know Mr. Cowan, since he has taken office, he has really been having a lot of meetings with us. We made recommendations. And yes, we've heard this week that the budget of $9 million has been approved. You know, I guess we'll talk a little more on that very shortly. But the support that the bands have asked for is not only financial, right? We have asked this year in particular, let us set up a stage area which mimics the Queen's Park Savannah. It's part of the presentation that we should be able to sell to masqueraders. That when you come to Tobago, not only are you parading along the waterfront, but we do have a nice stage area that gives you that spectacle and awe of you crossing a Savannah stage, right? Just to mimic that. There have been other areas in terms of enhancing what infrastructure is put on the route. Those are other areas that we have asked for support from Festival Commission to put in place, along with, yes, some financial support to bands, even if it's not all bands. There are bands that we can see have the potential and have been putting in the work from year one. And we could see where, if it is they get this additional oomph of support financially, they will be able to raise the bar a little higher in terms of what they present. Yeah.
All right. And when it comes to those requests, like for instance, the request for a stage, has that been received positively?
It took a lot of conversation. The buy-in was not there from day one. But I must say, since Mr. Cowan took up the CEO position, he has been able to really understand the ask and create what is called a staging area at Market Square. So even though we don't have the elevation of a stage, we do have, we did see a rendering of what is going to be presented next week. And we're okay with it for this year, but we must aspire to do something a little better next year. And that's part of the conversation we need to start from now.
What do you think is the cause of much of the resistance that is being faced when new ideas to, be more innovative, creative, and expansive with the carnival comes up?
It baffles us. We as an organization would meet and we would make recommendations. And as I said, we started the conversation since March. We've been meeting with Tobago Festivals Commission and the staff there, and they've really been, I would say, motivated and energized that we are starting so early. And some of the recommendations and the plans that we see would make sense for the carnival. These are practices that we have seen at other carnivals across the world. So why not mimic some of those things here to attract the international market? And when we do get the international market here, we can now immerse them in unique Tobago things. They would have agreed, but I don't know, somewhere in the system, things just paused for a while, and I think it was as March until June, we got some communication. Okay, we're working on it, but nothing has been finalized. We as bands, we're going ahead, we're planning, we're marketing, that sort of thing. And really and truly, tangible goals and targets that were agreed upon really happened when the CEO was appointed, right? And that's just a month ago, right? So, I mean, at this stage, the hand is already in the lion's mouth, so we have to work with what we have, yeah. But it has never really daunted us, the mass bands, that much. We understood that we can't sit and have a dependency on the Tobago House of Assembly through the TFCL, right? We have to push our products in an effort to, one, survive, and two, really show that we can match up to any other carnival that is across the world, right?
Right. I remember in the first year of the festivities, there was a uproar from the NCC about not being consulted on the Tobago Carnival, seeing that they are the national body that oversees Carnival. This year we have a new CEO in Mr. Kern Cowan saying that in 2025, there's now going to be greater collaboration and partnership with the NCC to see the success of the Tobago Carnival.
Yeah.
Are you in agreement with this move, and do you think it's the right way to go to help to build out the carnival?
Anything that would enhance what we have done over the last 3 years, I think is the right move. So even for TFCL and NCC to have a discussion, let's see what that brings, you know. Right now is a discussion into 2025 is the right time to start to initiate that. Look at what happens this year, have a postmortem right after Carnival next week, and see how, if it's possible, where NCC can add value to what TFCL would produce come 2025. I mean, as a mask band leader, we would look for any avenue that would help to enhance the carnival.
Right. And when it comes to the actual festival and persons engaging with it, we have wanted that international audience to participate, but the international activations have not been there.
Yeah.
Come 2025, what is TOKA recommending in regards to engaging not only members of the diaspora, but tourists from abroad?
Yeah, so the plans in terms of where do we need to activate and the destinations in particular and how these activations can take form is something that we have been speaking about for the last year and a half, right? I mean, TOKA is just over a year old, but as band leaders, we have been coming together and brainstorming. Mr. Cowan, we have mentioned this to him already, that listen, for 2025, there are key markets we think will make sense outside of not only the Tobago Day in Brooklyn, but there are other carnivals within the region that occur before July that we think will be key. That if we hit the ground there and activate there, we could get the buy-in from those masqueraders who are participating there to come to Tobago in October. It gives them enough time to book a hotel, to get an early flights, because we know the challenges there with flights availability. And we really get them activated very early and buy into the carnival early. We as mass bands will now have pre-sales very early, not like what's happening now where some bands, they're not sold out, some of them not even up to 50%. The more popular ones would be in excess of 50%, but there's some that are really trying their best. Even this morning I got a request for a band to do an activation at the Port Mall and the Coliseum this weekend because they're still trying to get last minute buy-in from the locals here in Tobago. So.
Right. And what can members of the Tobago public do to become a part of TOKA and other stakeholder organizations to contribute to the carnival? Because there are a number of persons who have interesting, creative and innovative ideas, not only for marketing and activation, but for, you know, how the festival can meet, you know, a new standard.
Yeah. So as it is when it comes to mass, we have 33 bands registered for Juvie, 22 for Parade of the Bands on Sunday, and 15 for Night Mass. I think that's more than enough bands that we have already participating in the carnival. So for anybody who is new to the space, somebody who is, interested in coming on board, I would say look at one of the registered existing bands and now bring your energy and your spirit and your resources to one of those and team up with them. Become a section, join the management team, help to enhance what is already there, because the reality of adding more bands to the space will not work, right? You can't have bands on the road with 25, 30 people. That's not a band. That's a section. And we really don't want more persons coming on board and saying that they are band, and that's what they end up producing. I am saying it makes more sense, economic sense, to pool resources so that even if you have influence over 30 people, somebody else has influence over another 40. You team up together, you're now up to 70. You find somebody else, you're now a band of over 100. And I think it really works better for the business aspect of what the person would be doing.
How has engaging some of the national promoters who have some of the bigger carnival events been going, to have them bring some of those events to the Tobago Carnival space?
Well, I think that question will be best answered by the Tobago Promoters Association. Yeah, but I've seen where local promoters, they have partnered with Trinidad promoters and influential groups to come across and support. They've offered tickets at early bird discounts, and therefore they would, based on the purchasing power of the promoter in Trinidad, they get a certain level of comps and things like that. And that's what helps to bring a promoter from Trinidad across to experience what's happening in Tobago, give some feedback to the local promoter, you could do this a little better, or this worked well, that's what will help grow us here on the island.
Excellent. And when it comes to persons really putting their support towards the carnival, what do you recommend, even at an individual level, to help the festival to grow?
I would say get out there, find a band, purchase a package, whether it's a Juve band, a night mass band, or a contemporary mass band. Purchase a costume, come and experience the carnival from a masquerader point of view. A lot of us sit on the sidelines and we have many opinions about what can be done, right? But I really want to say to the public, come out and really experience from the position of a masquerader and really see what the mass bands have to offer. Tobago as a destination, we've been fighting for years with our tourism product. And here we have a carnival that we are really pushing on an international level to bring persons to the island. And this product can really do that for us, right? The carnival, I've heard it on the media over the past couple of days that the carnival budget was announced at $9 million. And what is the $9 million going to be spent on? I think the perspective that we need to look at it as is what is going to be brought to the economy of Tobago, right? The Port Authority has added on sailings. It's bringing 2,800 people per day, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? Caribbean Airlines moves at least 1,000 people per day. You're looking at about 11,000 persons coming to the island, right, to experience Tobago Carnival. The average person, we did the stats, the average person spends about $900 to $1,000 a day. When we're talking here, food, accommodation, going to fets, those sort of things. If we do the maths, you're seeing where the economy of Tobago can bring in over $30-something million, right, to Tobago. And that's how we need to look at it. Let's move from the mindset of the 9 million or the 10 million, or, let's look at what happens to the island when there's a carnival celebration. And I'm really hoping that at the end of carnival, those are some of the stats we could hear, based on the occupancy at the hotels, the villas, because they're already boasting that occupancy bookings are at 80% plus. So let's hear those stats at the end. Let's hear the stats from the car rentals. Let's hear from the restaurants. Let's see what Tobago economy really gained by investing $9 million.
And finally, as we wrap up, what do you think can be done to make sure that persons who are a part of the carnival stakeholders truly feel impacted by that $9 million that is being spent?
When we give our recommendations, let's accept them. We are the practitioners in the field, the promoters, the calypsonians, the mass band leaders, the mass creators, when we do give our recommendations and our suggestions, let's see these things being implemented going forward. Not that we present it and then it's shelved and somebody else who might be making policy dictate something differently. You know, the best way to really sell this product is really have us be a part of it. I mean, we've seen a shift in direction, as I said. I always say it, as Mr. Cowan is now on board, we've seen a major change. Let's continue to work with that. He has signaled that we're going to make sure going for 2025, the core committee is going to make sure the elements of PAN, Calypso promoters and mass are a part of that organization. And so going forward, our recommendations will be put to use. So we're really hopeful for that.
Excellent. Well, we want to thank you and your team at TOKA for all the work that you have been doing and the support that you have been giving in the background to ensure that Tobago Carnival is still happening for October. You know, you guys have been doing your private promotions and marketing on your own that has truly helped to boost the festival, and that effort cannot go unnoticed. So we want to thank you guys and hope that you continue in that same vein, and hopefully they listen to you next year and we see some of your suggestions being implemented and the work is being done much earlier to empower and build the capacity that is needed for the festival to stand on its own as we move forward. So again, Mr. Stanley, we want to thank you again for coming on. Guys, we want to thank you for being a part of this morning's discussion. Thank you for your likes, your shares, and your comments, and all that you have been doing to make Tobago Updates the #1 broadcaster here on the island of Tobago. Again, thank you and have a great day.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and hear me neighbor. 60,000 people strong.